Hello, my name is Sam Hicks and I head up our business development team for a Midlands-based business called Online Direct. We work in partnership with a number of businesses in the UK, including Welcomm Communications, to support with all things energy. So that might range from pricing to technology and everything in between. We've been working with Welcomm for 5 years and the partnership continues to go from strength to strength. And it's my pleasure today to engage in the Business Take Off Toolkit, and I'll be specifically focusing on Green Week. Initially, legislation was set by the UK to commit to net zero emissions by 2050. Now, going net zero doesn't necessarily just mean cutting emissions down to zero. Things like generation, offsetting will likely to contribute in parallel with reducing emissions. The UK government then later revised its legislation and has now set the world's most ambitious climate change target, and that is to reduce emissions by 78% by 2035 in comparison to 1990 levels. So it's a real ambitious statement from the UK government, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they back that up in the coming months and years. I think the first thing that we all probably need to be doing is becoming more efficient with our energy use. So that probably starts with monitoring our consumption through technology, and having better technology to help us do that, something the guys at Welcomm can support with. The ability to control our usage more effectively, and also looking to reduce our consumption by replacing outdated electrical appliances with more up-to-date technology. I think this area is really, really important for us. If we can all reduce our waste significantly, other areas will cost far less in the future. I think another important area is behavioural and societal changes. I think we all probably need to educate ourselves better around the impact and the sustainability impact on everything that we do. So I think that's a big area. Something that's been in the news more often recently is the electrification of transport and heating. So there's been news about the banning of petrol and diesel cars, and the introduction of electric vehicles. So that's going to play a huge role. One that's probably not had so much mainstream media on it is hydrogen, and the role that hydrogen is going to play to replace natural gas, and as well as the role it can play with cars too. So that will be important. And finally, probably the final piece of the puzzle for businesses will be things like carbon capture, storage, offsetting emissions. All of these will be that final piece to get from a low emission business to a business that's net zero. Surveys with SMEs have reported that they're unsure, they don't know where to start when it comes to reducing their emissions. Sort of surveys are suggesting that anything up to 40% of businesses are actually unsure on how to prepare for this shift. And to be honest, in truth, it's unlikely to be a priority for SMEs at the minute, particularly on the back of the global pandemic. However, what I would say is with high energy prices driven by rising commodity markets, this really should be the driver for businesses to want to use less and be more efficient with their consumption, even if it's not for environmental perspective, but just from a cost saving perspective. But the most likely short-term effect will be operating supply chains, in my opinion. Larger businesses, government tenders are all likely to expect sustainability commitments from SMEs in the near future. And if they don't, the result might be missing out on trade. So that's probably going to be the greatest threat for SMEs, particularly in the short term. I think firstly, the most important thing is to really have a good understanding of your emissions as a business. So going back to what we talked about a moment or so ago, about your scope 1, your scope 2 and your scope 3 emissions, there's absolutely no business that can improve without understanding how and where it emits. So it's a common theme, but if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So that's really, really important for businesses to get an understanding of their emissions. I think the next point would probably be to look at those largest emitters and those key areas, and really focus on what it might be. So, for example, one business, it might be for transport, another business, it might be its energy. Really focus on that largest emitter and kind of understand what offers the greatest commercial benefit. And I think the final point would be to ensure that you're working with a trusted partner to help build that and implement that strategy. I'll give you an example. With some energy products on the market, they might appear as if they're green and low carbon, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's always the case, and that's commonly known as greenwashing. So sort of working with trusted and knowledgeable partners like Welcomm can really help take that burden away from you and help navigate through the market. I think firstly, becoming more aware and educating ourselves about sustainability as a whole is really, really important, and understanding what personal impact that we're having on both our local and national environment. I think the second point probably would be something we hear about quite a lot, and that's us consuming less, flying and driving less. If we do all of those things less, that's going to have a big impact. And for me, the final point would be being more aware and conscious about what you're buying and where it's coming from. So that could be all consumer products, that might be food, materials, clothing, all of those that will have a big impact. For a free energy consultation, including how you can learn more about green energy suppliers in the market, contact the Welcomm Energy team for more information.